Morning everyone. The topic of our research is the influence of electronic word of mouth on the purchasing decision of Generation Z consumer in China. First of all, previous research on the impact of electronic word of mouth on consumers could be found. When analyzing these 5 articles on electronic word of mouth, we found that these researchers did not analyze specific age group when establishing samples because different age groups have different growth environment and characteristic, which might lead to different preference and buying behaviors. Therefore, it is necessary to conduct further research on how eWOM affect consumers' behavior at different age, which is a gap of 5 articles. In this research, Chinese Generation Z consumers is selected as the research object, which is aimed to make up this gap. Based on the gap in our research, the main aim of our research is to determine how eWOM affects Chinese Generation Z. To answer this research question, we propose 3 sub-questions. Each question represents a topic we want to focus on. The first question concerns the extent to which eWOM has influenced the buying decision of Chinese Generation Z consumers. The second question concerns the factors that affect the purchasing decision of Chinese Generation Z under the influence of eWOM. The third question discusses the relationship between the professionalism of electronic word of mouth and the purchasing behavior of Chinese Generation Z consumers under different product category. To avoid harm, we will use the gentle tone during the whole process and keep smiling all the time. We will make sure the right of knowledge of interviewee by telling all the detail about this research and the purpose of the interview. At the same time, we guarantee inviolable privacy. All contents in this interview will just use for the research and all data will be archived. Finally, to avoid deception, our group will show our good faith and sincerity for exchange the real answer. This study will strictly obey the BSA statement of ethical practice guarantee the right of interviewee and the rigor of this research. Okay, now I will clearly explain the specific research method used by our group and the detail of the operational research process. Because there is a fact that as the researchers of this analysis, we use historical facts and experience as the basis of analysis, and use a certain number of existing academic theory to directly verify our research objective. That is Generation Z through a non-statistical method. In this case, the qualitative research method is considered to be the most suitable approach. But this does not include the possibility of using quantitative analysis in the future. It is proposed to provide a more accurate mathematical basis for our research findings. For example, to record the frequency of occurrence of influencing factor in eWOM and use the number of time of sub-events to calculate the degree of eWOM impact on Generation Z. Next, we adapt deductive reasoning based on the research topic. According to Sternberg, deductive logic is the process of reasoning from one or more statement of premises to reach a logically certain conclusion. Under the guidance of this way of thinking, we infer the unknown part of things from the known part of the knowledge. The known part is the business phenomenon of the eWOM, and the unknown part is the impact of this phenomenon to Generation Z. We will verify or falsify our research proposition developed from existing theory in the process of research and analysis. Then we use explanatory research to establish and summarize causality between the explanatory variables and the explained variables. In this study, the explanatory variables are influencing factors in the eWOM phenomenon, and the specific difference in different product category and the imperatives in the degree of professionalism of the information source. The explained variable are the degree of the influence of eWOM on the consumer behavior of Generation Z and diversity in different situations. For the sampling method, we decided to use stratified random sampling. This method divided the research objects into multiple types and takes a certain type as the research sample. The difference between the sample type is large and the difference within the sample group is small. Generation Z is a stratification in the overall sample of the study. We deem that the heterogeneity between the samples from different generations is more obvious, and the homogeneity between samples in the same generation is relatively evident. Finally, because of the impact of coronavirus, we decided to conduct online one-on-one interviews with individual research samples, which is considered to provide security and convenience for the access of our research. About the data collection method, the research is conducted through one-on-one semi-structured interview, which could help the researcher gather information from participants more quickly and in a more targeted way. Fourthly, the face-to-face interview is recommended because researchers could tailor follow-up questions based on a response from real-time communication. However, due to the situation caused by the virus, the interview had to be conducted online, such as by telephone or through the web chat interface. Secondly, we will have 12 to 13 questions which will be recorded, and those questions mainly focus on the influence of electronic word of mouth on the purchasing decision of Generation Z consumers, in order to avoid overly simplistic response from the participants. There will be several open-ended questions to help the participant better express his or her view. Therefore, the interview could start with a general question about electronic word of mouth, and gradually increase the specific of the following question. By asking further questions, the researcher and the participant could have more interaction, which would help the researcher get more valuable information about the result. In addition, since the research focus on Chinese Generation Z consumers, English will not be participants' native language. Therefore, the sample of research could be set to the Generation Z population of China at the University of Aberdeen, and the language used in the interview will be English, and all the interview questions should be easy to understanding. Furthermore, the survey could represent a lot of personal data which could be helpful for further analysis. About the data analysis method, the online one-to-one semi-structured interview that our group plan to use could help the interact with the interviewee in a timely manner, which means we could have a chance to reflect on his answer. This is more conducive to deeper understanding of the interviewee. We use semantic analysis because we use qualitative analysis during the research method of the whole research. Firstly, it's necessary to read and be familiar with the collected textual data of the interview, and then we can code the data by organizing, sorting, and marking the data and combining with the literature knowledge. We can classify and label the original data as well as mark transcript. After that, we will think about theme and subtheme. Finally, we write a description and illustration for themes and subtheme, and write quotations from transcript. Semantic analysis with great flexibility allows us to identify, analyze, and report on the underlying meaning of textual data. It is useful for us to research the interviewee in depth. In terms of disadvantages, its limitation lie in the high quality of respondent answers. Also, the number of interviewees is limited, thus, data is not comprehensive. We have to interview more interviewees with high quality of answers. About the research quality and limitation, we have full confidence in the authenticity of the survey result, but there are still some restrictions. First of all, because the interview is a semi-structured interview with open question, the general question may be excluded in each interview, and there may be several new questions that are different. Second, the Interpretation of the data may differ between researchers. Third, because the sample group is small and uniform, it's difficult to summarize the research result beyond the specific research scope of study, resulting in low effectiveness. In addition, as the research object grow, research phenomena may change over time.